Okay, guys, very welcome back to the show. And we have a very special guest on the show today. Myself and Jack Kilby are joined by former WCW wrestler Ice Train. And we're going to kick in and we're going to talk about something that Jack just found out about off camera, just your athletic background and football team you used to play for.
Mm-hmm. Man, well, let me give my people a big choo-choo. How you guys doing out there in podcast land? Let's go. Let's chop it up. I'm ready.
So you mentioned that you played for a team that's near and dear to my heart, close to my location, the CFL Rough Riders. Could you let the fans know about your background athletically in general, along with that tenure, sir?
Yeah, I'll start it off. In 1987, I was probably the strongest person in college football. Um, I played for a school called Central State, Ohio, produced over 20 pro football players. Um, John Peters was the general manager. I came up to Ottawa, and they signed me to a 2-year deal. But I had just signed with I was about to go into the Cincinnati Bengals camp. So I was in a struggle between Ottawa and the Bengals. And Peter Nugget was my roommate that year. And I went to John, and I kind of knew contracts and stuff like that. No problem. Football back then was a poor man's game. I'm going to keep it real. $50,000 contracts, $75,000 contracts. And at that time, I could make $42,000 teaching school. So I went to John. I was like, John, I'm starting. I think I deserve a little bit more money. John was like, Harold, this ain't the NFL. So I was like, well, can you release me out of my contract? He said, all the money we put into you, bringing you up here. I said, John, it was very unorganized, put it like that. Mm-hmm. But John, it was a great experience. And then basically, from that point on, I was working out. I think I was bench pressing about 680, squatting about 9. Never really did deadlifts till later on, but I was legit for 24 years old. Probably top 5, top 3 in the world on Strongest Man. And I was working out in Indiana. And Pistol Pez Watley, God rest his soul, saw me in the gym and was like, I think I was dunking a basketball because in college I was a 3-time All-American. Played for Central State, Ohio. We played schools like Grambling, Tennessee State, Jackson State, schools like that, HBC schools. At that time, HBC football was still better than the MAC conference and could compete pretty much anywhere because the black colleges were still getting top football players. And when I came out of high school, I went to Michigan, and that kind of didn't work out like I wanted to. And I was kind of a diva. I'm not going to kid you. I was kind of a diva. Like, if it wasn't my way, it was a highway. I was young, 18, 19 years old, all-state, high school, all-American, and a lot of mistakes, but mistakes help you grow. So I would never turn in the time that I had at Central State University for playing in Michigan. It was just a great program for me. And it was the best 3 years of my life. It prepared me. Coach Billy Joe prepared me for life after football. And that's why I kind of dug it, man.
So you mentioned the great Pistol Pez Watley. You got his attention. Is that how you came to come to the power plant in '93 and train under Mr. Wonderful and Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker?
No. I let me tell you how I really went. I was in there in '92, and at that time, I really loved my powerlifting because at that time, I'll be honest with you, I'm 58 years old, and I'm really going for the curl record of the whole world. And weightlifting has always been my best friend. Helped me get my football scholarships, track, everything. Weights have always been my best friend. No, Pez Watley brought me there. Jody Hamilton was my teacher. And I would never trade Jody in for anybody. It was Jody Hamilton and Buddy Lee Parker. Those were my teachers. When Paul got a hold of me in 92, I was in the power plant from 92 to 93. And when I came up on the roster, I had a torn ACL. So just imagine, you finally get the phone call and your ACL is blown out, but you can't say, oh, I'm gonna take off a year. You gotta go. I remember me and Ron Simmons were doing a match against the Nasty Boys, and I could barely walk up the apron. Couldn't move, couldn't do anything, but stay in the middle of the ring and hit a choo-choo. But that's how wrestling was then. It was tough on me because it was like, man, I finally get my call. I'm doing a regular kick in practice, blow my whole ACL out. So they don't really get to demonstrate me on my video doing my 950 squat at 275. Don't get to show the bench presses, and they had all this video stuff they wanted to do to bring me in. But I can't plant because my ACL gone. I can't squat like I used to. So they was like, what are you going to do? No, these opportunities don't come often. And pro wrestling, as a black man, they don't come often. And it's just the realness of it. So that was my opportunity. And I had to grow up on TV. I didn't get to do independent shows. That's why when people be like, wow, he disappeared. Man, he doesn't even look like the guy that left the TV for a year and came back. Wow, he disappeared again. He doesn't look like the guy who just left Germany. So it was all my growth and experience was on TV or going to Germany or going to Japan. And that's how I got better over the 13 years I was in wrestling.
Yeah, you've had quite a career in Germany that we'll touch upon as well. But when you came up on TV, as you said, you didn't do the independents, and you appeared to, watching it myself as a fan, you appeared to be, you knew this guy was going to be a star and was going to get a significant push. Was that in the cards for you, to your understanding, right when you debuted?
It's all about bookers. Ole Anderson had the book for a year. I was unstoppable. When Ole Anderson didn't have the book, it's kind of like a coach getting fired. He bringing his own quarterback. So when Ole left, Ice Train took a back seat, but then Dusty got to like me. And Dusty was like, oh, this kid got some charisma, some potential. And Dusty was just one of the most awesome people. That it's like being in a room with one of the prophets from Jesus. Dusty can talk to you for 2 minutes, man, and just change your whole life. He's a great man. And DDP had a little part. DDP had a great part in me getting signed with WCW. He had got to see me do things in the weight room and charismatic. Basically, Dallas told Eric Bischoff, listen, Train, I need you to come to this Christmas party and introduce me to Eric Bischoff. And Eric was like, he's not like a normal rookie wrestler. I was about my business. I knew about money because of my 4 years in school, and I was a businessman. And when I went to Eric, Eric took care of me. Wrestling to me, I knew what I was getting when I walked in the door, Jack. Maurice, I knew what I was getting. I knew it was a business. And I knew everybody, when you go to work, is not going to like you. But once they begin to earn your respect as a fellow brother in the business, because it's a fraternity, the runs with Chris Canyon, the matches with DDP, Chris Benoit, Scott Norton, those were the matches that rang dear to my heart in the Harlem Heat. And those were guys who knew how to work with me and bring out the best of me. And that's why, as a rookie, those early years, that's why I can respect it. Like my son Miles wants to go into pro wrestling. And I said, you got to bring something to the table. So example, Miles is 23 years old, deadlifting 700, benching close to 500, and he only weighs 220. So you can
Wow.
understand how pound for pound that's strong he is. And a great athlete, 44-inch vertical. And because he got to watch Bronson Steiner. And they knew each other. They would see each other in the gym. And Bronson be like, Miles, Bronson was a great football player. I still don't know how Bronson didn't make the Baltimore Ravens. I ain't figured that one out to kind of save my life. But that's the politics of the game. And but Bronson Steiner was one of the best athletes I've ever seen in my life. And he's doing a great job in pro wrestling. And he learned basically in the warehouse. And he's putting the psychology part done. And when I watch him, I'm like, wow, he is really Bronson makes me watch wrestling because I know he's strong. I know he's aggressive. I know he's tough. And I dig that kid, man. I turn on that TV to watch him because I believe in what he does. If it looks real to me, I'll watch it. If you're doing 900 flips and 40 clothesline and nobody's bleeding, I'm turning the TV off because it ain't real. And I like wrestling to look real to this day. I like it nice and stiff. Like Fire and Ice and Steiners. Nice and stiff, man. I love it. I love it. Go ahead,
That brings us to a fan question. A fan question in there was, Ice, was any of your matches shoots or who was the stiffest?
You know what? I wrestled Fit Finley over 30 times. And I remember I was a rookie. I was in Vienna, Austria. Peter Williams was the promoter. And I don't think Finley had been pinned in 15 years. He said, I want you to go over on Fit tonight. So I'm a rookie. I'm like, what are you talking about? And Finley was out there straight businessman. I don't think the stiffest person I've ever been in the ring with, probably would be Ron Simmons. And I love Ron, but Ron and me have fun. We laid it in. We're football players. So it wasn't Ron was one of the greatest travel buddies and just a real guy when it came to the business. But Ron was solid. And Ming was solid. But I like solid. I like stiff. I think when you're over 300 pounds, it should be stiff. It shouldn't look like patty cake. And if it hurts, you just gotta grit your teeth. The Steiners were never stiff, but we had so much fun. We probably was stiff. It was so much adrenaline going on. You probably didn't even know you were getting stiffed. How about that one? So that's how I look at the Steiners. You were so hyped because we could do stuff with them that other guys wouldn't do with me and Norton. And Scotty Steiner was such a great athlete, and Rick, man, they could take bumps. Oh man, it was great. They were great dance partners, man. They were great. The Steiners, my favorite tag team I ever wrestled against.
Yeah.
You mentioned Ron Simmons and being both an opponent, but you also tagged on him, tagged with him on occasion, and I note that you had an opportunity on TV to face the Hollywood Blondes with Pillman and Austin. Of course, did you have a good experience in that context, and did you see Austin becoming arguably the greatest wrestler in the history of the business?
Steve Austin and Brian Pillman. My rookie year, Steve Austin used to give it to me. Overpaid, underworked. And Austin would really get on them about, man, just do something with this kid. And that was one of the matches Ole Anderson booked. If you ever watched the match, Ole told me don't sell anything. You're not supposed to sell. You don't know how to sell yet. So you just go out there and you just clubber everybody. And Austin and Pillman were pissed. But they were professional about it. But they were pissed. If you ever watched the match, I didn't sell anything. Me and Ron didn't lose. It was on a disqualification. God rest Pillman's son. What a great guy. But they were really mad because they felt that Ole had kind of treated them bad. by just putting them out there with this green guy who wouldn't sell or anything. But Ole's philosophy was, hey, brother, I don't even want you in wrestling tights. I need you in some jeans and some boots. And I just need people to love your. And the thing about it, people, the wrestling part, I was never say I was the greatest wrestler. But boy, I could work a crowd though, and people love my character. And that was my gift, my charisma. And people liked my charisma, and it kept me in the company for over 10 years. So they were really upset at that match, the Hollywood Blondes against me and Ron Simmons, but it did all of our careers some justice. Steve probably would have never went to WWE after that match, and he basically did. And you saw what happened to Stone Cold. I love him, man. Just a wonderful guy. Haven't saw Steve in a lot of years, but Dallas has spoke to him. They spoke to him in the podcast. But I love Steve Austin, man. Just a great character, man, and just a great worker to be 25 years and be able to change your character over and over again and just keep it going. That's what made him such a great talent.
For sure.
Yeah. Did you ever have any interactions with Hulk Hogan over the years there in WCW? How did you find him?
Let me tell you, I tell my sons all the time, I came in with the Ric Flairs and the Arn Anderson. They were my buddies. Arn was my buddy from Indiana. I used to see him when I was a kid when he come into the gym. And Hogan was a very nice guy to me. The 2-3 occasions we spoke, I didn't trust him. And all I had to do was just shake his hand, and he probably could have catapulted my career. But it was a trust factor when the guys came up from New York to the South. And the South had been good to me. WCW, I can't ever say anything wrong about them. I think my money was good. I think they treated me good. And man, I wish I would have took my time and got to know Terry better, but the times I spent with him, just a wonderful guy. Hello, always polite, just a businessman. Just a good man.
Yeah.
And wrestling is a clique. And my clique was the South. It was Arn was cool with me. Even Terry Taylor was okay with me. It was just guys I had knew before I really wrestled. That's all. It was. They knew me from my weightlifting. You walk into a gym, I would go in there and do 5. I told my son if I had video recorders and video those workouts, I would be rivaling my cousin. It's a guy in America, my cousin, name is C.T. Fletcher, and big motivational speaker, weightlifter, got 3-4 million followers, and I used to do 505 for 18 reps on the bench, and I mean, really legit curl 315 pounds. I said, boy, if I'd had a video camera then, I would have a million followers just watching my workouts.
Yeah, unbelievable. A lot of fans remember fondly the team you had with another, speaking of legit strong man and a hard hitter, that being Scott Norton, the Fire and Ice
Scooter.
team. How did that pairing seem to be predestined? How did that come about?
Eric Bischoff. And I was, Scott and me, we never talked nor vibed. They put us together. And that's what made WCW different than WWF. If they'd have put me and Norton in the room, I believe, honestly, people believed in us from the get. I don't think fans wanted to see Fire and Ice lose for a long time. They really, those two characters, if pushed right, would have been one of the greatest. We would have rivaled the Road Warriors. We really would have. And they broke that up because some promoters thought I was better by myself. And at that time, I was that baby face, that one of those lasting baby faces. And then to put us together, man, people love Fire and Ice. It was just really cut too soon. It really was. And it helped the other tag teams, but me and Scott Norton was legitly I know Scott had a 600-pound bench press, and I knew he was a great arm wrestler. So you talking about two legit, probably the strongest tag team ever. Two guys, as far as strength, period. Nobody was stronger than me and Scott Norton. Zero. I wouldn't care if you had Ted Arsini with somebody else, unless they bench 680. Nobody was stronger than me and Scott Norton. Strongest tag team ever, as far as lifting weights. Period. Period. Nobody could rival that. No fake numbers. Nobody. He had legit powerlifting USA, legit over 600-pound bench, and I had over 670 bench, legit. And we were legitly the strongest tag team ever.
Yeah, it's hard to argue.
Did you ever have an
those
opportunity?
numbers.
Sorry, Jack.
Go ahead,
did
Maurice.
you ever have an opportunity to work? Yeah, did you ever have an opportunity to work for WWE, WWF at any point, or why did that never kind of happen? Because I'm assuming they kept an eye on you.
Of course. And when WCW had closed, I had stacked my money up pretty good, and I just knew it wasn't going to work for me up there. You know, I was listening to one of Stevie Ray's interviews, and I felt the same. I really felt like, no, it was no, it wouldn't have worked up there for me. Period. Vince would have had to, you know, if I'd have had the right team around me, it could have worked, but no, it would have never worked up there. It would have never worked because I wasn't an ass kisser, for number one. For number two, they already had Mark Henry. They already had Ahmed Johnson, D'Lo Brown, Godfather, and I would have just probably been one of them black faces for a couple weeks and in and out. So I just left myself with WCW and take some trips to Germany and Japan often, here and there, because Germany was like home to me. You know, Germany was my home. Germany was, Otto Vance was, and Eric Bischoff were two of the greatest guys to me ever in my life. They were good men. Otto Vance, rest his soul, and Eric Bischoff was my man. I have nothing. Eric was just good to Harold Hogue. As good as he could be to me. He treated me well. And I left wrestling on a good note. If my sons want to get into the business, that's cool. But me, myself, no. WCW, when me and Chris Canyon did the Am I Smooth stuff, Jack and Maurice, it was the funnest, and I had got to showcase my talent because me and Chris were great dance partners. And I knew at that time I could work with anybody. You didn't have no guys 350 pounds at that time jumping and leaping and kicking and moving as fast as I was in that ring. No. And it was legit believable. And that's really without a real push. I mean, WCW, you pushed your own self. You kept your own self alive. You fed yourself. You had a guaranteed contract, but your work kept you on TV. When you work 6 to 8, 9 weeks, that means people are loving what they're seeing on TV. That's how it was.
In '97 on Nitro, you had a high profile match against Chris Benoit. Just wanted to get your memories of working with him because you know, obviously a controversial figure, but that match is definitely memorable in terms of that physicality again that you touched on.
Man, that guy, you know, Chris, I'll be honest with you. I'm a spiritual person, but that guy was one of the nicest guys I ever met in my life. Just a beautiful person. And I know sometimes things can happen, but man, as far as that guy I know, just an awesome guy. Sorry, I put him in a category with Finley. Just a beautiful guy. And it's a tragedy, what the minds can do, if that's what really happened, and if he did all of that. But the Chris Benoit I knew and the Nancy were just beautiful people. And man, Chris Benoit made me look like those are the matches I used to have every night in Germany. And if you ever watched it, it looked real.
Yeah.
And it was one of my favorite matches to ever work until WCW cuts off and goes to a commercial break, and they just had too much going on sometimes instead of letting the match work, because people love that match with me and Benoit. If you ever just listen to the crowd, Maurice, Jack, the crowd popped on everything we did. It was a great story. Stevie Ray came up to me and said, boy, the light is coming on. But then the next week, they'll give me some enhancement talent, and I'll beat about a couple guys who don't matter, and then we'll disappear for 3 months and come back. That was WCW. One year, I think I made over $250,000. I never left my house and went to work. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff they would do. Just sit at home and get a check.
Mad.
It was nuts, man. It was, and then they'll come up with something. And then the Canyon thing, me and Chris Canyon were having great matches. And great, even before we started matches, just the limo stuff alone, and just the Am I Smooth character giving everybody a wrinkle and telling everybody, hey, let's do this, let's do that. That was some great stuff. And soon as it gets hot, man, they get the powers to be, brother. They run that stuff off, Jack. They really do. Like me and David Flair, man, we were supposed to do so much together. They killed that before it even. I think they had me pin David one night, but we had already started working on some more promos, and they just killed it off. They would just do stuff like that. It was a lot of talent, and the difference is, it was too many Chiefs. Too many Chiefs. You had an A team, a B team, and a C team. And then you had the mega stars, and you had those mega stars, man. And I had matches with La Parker, and I remember La Parker came off the rope, and La Parker was a good 260, and Larry Sabisco was like, that's just. I think I picked him up dead weight, and then off the ground, he was like an inch from the ground, or it was gonna be a blown spot, and I just scooped him up, flipped him over, and Sabisco was like, oh my God, that is strength beyond strength. And man, we had a lot of talent up there. Max Muscle was talented. Bobby Walker was talented. Booker T, yes, he got through the cracks. Booker was talented before he even became the megastar. Then they had the Eddie Guerreros. There's a lot of talent in that company. It really was. And they just didn't know what to do with some of the talent.
Do you see parallels between that just plethora of talent and you touched on going on and off TV, inconsistency? Do you see that kind of coming to fruition again in AEW?
AEW looks almost like WCW. It really does, because I'm just going to talk about the African Americans up there. You got the big guy, Keith Lee, then you got the other guy, then you got, it's just you got talent, but you got too many people on television, because really, you put a guy on TV for 3 weeks, you got over 3 billion people not even watching that guy. That guy got to be pushed on that TV 8-9 weeks in a row. Eric Bischoff gave a great analogy. The kid from the Wonder Years used to like me as a wrestler.
Hervey.
Savage. Fred Savage?
No, that Jason Hervey, his business partner?
Yeah, from the Wonder Years.
Yes, sir.
And he would watch the show just to watch certain guys, and they would be on one week and the next week be off, and you didn't know what you were. It's like watching Superman. Jack, if you watch Superman, you want to see Superman. You watch Spider-Man, you want to see Spider-Man. You go watch WCW, you want to watch the talent in WCW. And they will give you a little bit, but then they will push too many people down your throat. And then it will confuse the audience. AEW has a great show, but man, you can't catch up with 1 week Mike Tyson's on there. 1 week you got a rapper on there. 1 week you got a girl. You don't know what you're getting week to week.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre last week. Leatherface.
Wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's exactly. You're looking at matches and you're saying, man, this is a lot. You can't keep up because you can't follow your hero. See, you're old enough now, but some of those kids are like 14 years old and they want to see the people they like that they grow into every week. That's a fact. That's why I like NXT, because sometimes they'll push the same person. You can follow it for at least 8 weeks. So I got to watch Bronson a little bit. I got to watch the guy with the big beard, with the gray beard. You know, these guys ain't 200 pounds, but they're great hard workers. And then they disappear and go to the main rosters and they come back down. Then you lose your fan base. You know? And that's a part of AEW. AEW, and you got to remember, a lot of guys in AEW was in WCW. So you're gonna see you'll get to look. It'll get to look like WCW a little bit, and it does. It does.
What are your thoughts on the legendary Sting still being active? A man I'm sure you crossed paths with over the years in AEW.
Great guy. Great guy. Sting is an ambassador of pro wrestling. Sting came to me one day and said, listen, I don't know why they're not pushing you, but you got it. And I would hear that a lot. But even without saying that, he was always somebody you could talk to. So could you talk to Lex Luger. Luger was cool in the fan, still cool, but Luger was a great role model and just a good guy. Mean, great guy. But Sting, an ambassador. Still out there, not for the money, because he loves the business. You know, he loves the business. And Scott Hall put that gimmick together for him. The Crow. Scott told him one day, hey, man, you paint your face. Do something different. And that's how they came up with that Crow gimmick, like Brandon Lee's son, Bruce Lee's son, off of that movie. And that gave Sting another 15 years. Yep. I was just a great guy. Just an ambassador of wrestling. You know, doesn't drink anymore, doesn't party anymore. That's the kind of guy you need around a locker room when you're young. To teach a guy, hey man, this won't always be here. It won't always be here. You gotta really grow up a little bit. And Sting is that guy, an ambassador for pro wrestling, Jack and Maurice. And the fans out
There's
there.
another guy.
Hold on, one question. The fans out there are really getting to see one of the last legends when you're 40 to 60 years old. Sting is one of the last ones you ever gonna see. It'll never be like that again, ever. Yeah. Go ahead. What's your question, Maurice?
Yeah. Did you have any interactions or memories with Chris Jericho? Obviously, while we're talking AEW, he's still going as well, which is crazy.
You know, Jericho is just, man, Jericho. Now, when you talk about Jericho, that's a happy spot in pro wrestling. Chris, matter of fact, did a podcast a couple years ago with Steve Stone Cold, and everybody called me. Man, Jericho was talking about you on the podcast train. I said, what'd he say? He said, man, you had to catch Ice Train on a good day. If he ain't like you that day, it wasn't gonna go too good. But Jericho is and I mean, think about it. 30 years, Jericho was a wrestler, but did not let pro wrestling control him. That's what made Jericho so good. I'm not 6'8", 300 pounds, but I can work and I have charisma and I'm a company man. And I respect you as long as you respect me. That's Chris Jericho. To me, just a great guy. And when I say good, I keep it real because I ain't gonna sugarcoat nothing for it. You ask me a true opinion. If it's a piece of shit, it's gonna be I'll tell you what it is. But I mean, I'm gonna tell you if a guy is garbage, he's garbage. But Jericho, outstanding guy, character, and character is what keeps the guy around for so long. The passion of it, if you treat him right. Good guy.
Yep.
In terms of some of the notable individuals that you faced towards the latter end of WCW and perhaps a bit before, I know you had a match with Goldberg on Nitro. What was that experience like working? It's like the irresistible force meeting the immovable object type of encounter. What was that like for you?
Billy, put it like this. It was Billy's time. And it's a company and it's a business. And people know people aren't slow. And sometimes bookers can make, like, you can look at it to build the program up, or did he tear it down? I think Bill built the program up. He brought a new audience. He brought something that was invincible. That, all right, everybody, this is a job. People didn't put you over. Now it's time for you to put him over. He went from Mongo McMichael and him about to kill each other. God bless Mongo McMichael. And he's going through some things, but God bless him. He's going through ALS, one of the greatest, just one of the nicest men in the world. I mean, if you ever read Mongo, Jack and Maurice, just a solid guy. Mongo McMichael, solid dude, man. Really just a good dude. But Bill was cool, man. Bill and me worked biceps one day together. We knew some of the same people, but when you had to put me over, you had to put me over. And it was my night to put him over. I'm gonna make him look as good as I can. I'm gonna make him look good. I think I took a great spear for him. I think I went up on the suplex, beautiful. Mm-hmm. And that was it. I made him give me a beer after the match, though. I made him give me a Coors Light out of his cooler. And but that was it, man. Hey, it was business. It wasn't nothing personal. Hey, let's get it done. If this is gonna make the company keep going, let's do it, man. That's what it's all about. It's business. Because somebody gonna put you over, and a lot of people put me over. So I had no problem in doing that for Bill at all.
Yeah, and he totally did keep the interest there and brought a new audience in towards in the early 2000s, definitely as well. Someone wants to know, do you have any Kevin Nash or Scott Hall stories?
Yeah, just watched the match with DDP with the belts at the end. If you ever watched that, me and DDP were working one night, and I just flew in from Germany, so I'm already a little cranky. And me and Dallas was a good businessman. If you watch the match, it's when the outsiders jumped in the ring with the belts, and I didn't give Dallas anything that night. He took a solid, literal ass whooping in the ring, and he got his finish. And then I went back to Germany the next day. And Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were mad at me, but they forgot if I was going to take the diamond cutter, I had to stand up to take it. So I don't think they understood that part. But God rest Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. I stood up and I told them to get in the ring, and the people were going crazy. And Dallas climbed back in the ring and hit me with a diamond cutter. So that's my Kevin Nash. And I got a lot of Scott Hall stories. Scott was just a cool dude, man. Scott was just a happy guy to be living, to be wrestling, didn't understand how he became this star. Just a cool dude. Kevin was from Detroit, basketball player, struggled through the business. A lot of people didn't think Kevin was going to ever be a star nor make it. Kevin wasn't no chosen one. Kevin fought to get that money, fought to get them titles. Kevin wasn't no golden goose. They was killing Kevin down in WCW, with the paying him $75,000. Vinny Vegas getting his butt whooped. No, Kevin paid his dues, man. Sorry, homeboy, no homeboy. Kevin didn't have no silver spoon in his mouth, brother, at all. He earned everything he got. Him and Scott Hall both solid guys, man. To me.
One of the areas of your career that the fans talk about still was your pairing with Teddy Long for a relatively short period of time on television. Two-part question: was that something that you came up with him organically, or was it an office deal? And secondly, why was it so brief?
Teddy, I was a little bit different. I was the most winningest person in WCW other than Doom that Teddy managed. And I wasn't always the company guy. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't. No, I ain't doing that tonight. And Teddy was a more of a bet. He was more mature. It's like train. Every night you go out there, do the best you can. And no, it was Teddy loved me. Teddy me talk to this day. It was WCW, man. They just didn't know what to do with me, brother. It was Teddy did a promo. He said, why Ice Train never got over? He said, man, they didn't know what to do with the guy. He could talk, so he didn't need a manager. He could smile, could work a crowd, they just didn't know what to do with me. Now, you fast forward that if I would have trusted Vince McMahon, because you got to remember, when it was time for me to go to WWE, I kind of turned down WWE. So when the company folded, and I saw what happened to Bagwell up there, and DDP, and Canyon, I said, oh, not me, baby. I'm not going up there. They beat them like drums up there. That ain't how I want to start off my second generation of wrestling. So I went to Germany for a little while, and that was it. So, but Teddy was just a great guy. And man, they wanted to put me and Teddy together, and it didn't match. You know, it was Teddy was real. Like, if you're gonna let me be with him, he got to destroy everybody in his path. Why we having matches? Teddy, like, he should be out here. This is basically the strongest dude in the world, basically one of them, and we out here having matches. He should be smashing people and getting ready to do and work our way to something else. But and they just didn't want to do that. And man, it would give me. I think I had La Parker 9 straight weeks, man, over and over and over again. La Parker, just to keep me going. But they wouldn't give me a Arn Anderson, a Ric Flair. It wouldn't give me it gave me Ming one time. And we had a good match. Wouldn't give me Ming again. Never got a one-on-one with the Steiners. It was never about winning matches. Just give me somebody that we could work the match with. And it just depends on who had the book. When Kevin Sullivan had the book, I was his dude. You know, I tell Norton all the time, God bless him, but I pinned you 3 times, buddy. You ain't pinned me once. I give him stick about that. And I just tease him. And I said, that was just a little feud we would have. But man, I love Norton. Wrestling is a fraternity. And you got a bunch of guys come from different situations, Maurice and Jack, that love that business. And you have to be able to walk away with that business and be happy, or it will.
You're on mute if you can hear me.
I think you got a call.
Your
and then
microphone
we
is muted.